My boss's daughter fired me when her father handed over the business to her. "You're a stupid old man," she said. But when her father found out about it, he shouted, "Where are your brains? Have you read the contract?" Because the contract said, I'm standing in an almost empty living room, still in my work clothes, tie halfway undone, when it finally sinks in that I've been kicked out of the company that felt like a second skin for half a decade. The skyline outside my apartment window is beginning to bruise purple, San Jose dusk sliding over the rooftops, and the little red light on my coffee maker is blinking like it wants to say, "Buddy, you're on your own now." My name is Mike Johnson, 43 in passport years, closer to 25 in attitude, and for 5 loyal caffeine-powered years I was personal assistant, scheduler, and unofficial morale officer to John Miller, the big brain founder of Millerware. Let me rewind the tape so you can hear the scratch before the song. 5 years earlier, John Miller, founder of Millerware, spotted me at a networking mixer we both hated so much we were hiding by the caterer's exit ramp. He'd spilled a plastic cup of grapefruit-infused IPA on my resume, nearly choked laughing at his own clumsiness, and 15 minutes later offered me a job on the spot. Anyone who can keep smiling while soaking wet paperwork drips down their pants leg deserved a chance, he said. I thought it was a joke until the contract hit my inbox before midnight. John is tall, cowboy boot tall, with the sort of Colorado-born shoulders that make white bards look like napkins. He loves windsurfing, double espressos, and using analogies from Greek tragedies to describe market cycles. He also, this matters, honors his word the way monks honor silence. In 5 years, I never once worried whether Friday's paycheck might bounce. That's rare in startup land, where enthusiasm sometimes outpaces bank balances. Our arrangement was simple. I handled the details so he could dream in widescreen. During crunch quarters, I lived in the office more than my apartment. I watered the plants, scheduled the stand-ups, pulled 16-hour shifts, smoothing bugs out of release builds, and once negotiated a ceasefire between 2 senior engineers who were seconds away from throwing kombucha bottles at each other over code style. In return, John protected my weekends whenever possible, forced me to take real vacations, and sent handwritten thank you notes to my mother after every product launch because she raised a rock star. So when John announced a month ago that he was stepping back to spend more time sailing before my knees give out, I clapped the loudest at the all-hands. He introduced his daughter, Emily Miller, as the incoming CEO. 27, Stanford MBA, certified Pilates instructor, follower count in the 6 figures. She shook my hand with nails the exact red of a warning label and smiled like someone posing for a boardroom headshot. That night, ever the diligent PA, I opened a new doc titled Emily_comes_preferences and started guessing latte orders. Cue record scratch. First Monday arrives. I get to the office at 7 a.m., slide my badge, and the motion-activated lights stutter awake. The place smells like last night's pizza and whiteboard marathon. Tomato sauce, marker solvent, a hint of adrenaline. I refill the communal espresso grinder, lay out gratis protein bars, print tomorrow's compliance brief, the whole morning dance. At 8:55, I'm rearranging chairs for Emily's 10 o'clock vision refresh when the glass doors swing open. She stalks in black sheath dress, stilettos that could aerate concrete, phone glued to her ear. She's in the middle of telling someone to crush Q2 deliverables when her eyes lock on me. Suddenly the call drops, or maybe she just stops talking. The office hushes. "Mike," she says, voice sharp enough to shave. "You're fired." At first I think I've misheard. Maybe she said hired for a new role. I laugh, actually laugh, which feels like punching myself in the gut from the inside. She doesn't laugh back. She repeats it, slower. "You are fired." It bounces off the open plan walls like a rogue Slack notification. I glance around, team leads, interns, even the intern's dog frozen mid-step. I collect my dignity, approach her so the whole floor can't eavesdrop, and say, "Emily, there's got to be a misunderstanding. I have 5 years of institutional." She slices the air. "Security will escort you out. HR will mail your final paperwork." There's a taut silence, the kind you get before a fire alarm. My heart feels too large for my chest. Gary, the security guard who used to share smoked almonds with me during night deployments, walks over. "Sorry, Mike," he murmurs, as if apologizing for bad weather. He has to badge me out. Policies and all that. I nod, grab my messenger bag, still loaded with color-coded Sharpies, and walk through a gauntlet of sympathetic eyes. The elevator ride down is the longest 20-second drop of my life. No termination letter, no exit checklist, nothing. That night, insomnia drags me around my apartment like a rag doll. I watch the city lights blink in Morse code, read motivational quotes that feel like cologne sprayed on a bullet wound, count ceiling fan rotations. Around 3 a.m., I remember something. Clause March 1st, 42. The secret parachute John insisted on when we renewed my contract last year. I dig through a banker's box under my bed. Old tax forms, concert tickets, the manual to a smoothie blender long deceased, and there it is, crisp, notarized, humming with legal authority. It reads, in the event of employer-initiated termination before completion of any given 12-month term, the employee is entitled to compensation equal to 3 years of base salary, payable within 7 business days. Lawyers love parentheses. I love this one in particular. I do quick math. My base salary isn't Elon Musk money, but triple multiplying anything makes it spicy. Enough to pay off the condo, clear the last of my sister's nursing school loans, maybe even invest in that sci-fi novella I've been noodling. My first impulse is to email Emily in all caps and attach a PDF of the clause with the subject line, friendly reminder. Second impulse, passive-aggressive Instagram story featuring Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do. Saner impulse wins. I dial John. He answers on the second ring from, judging by the whoosh, the deck of his sailboat. My kiddo, what the hell is going on? He growls, wind whipping the phone. I explain. By the Andes cursing so colorfully the entire Pacific probably blushes. He tells me come in tomorrow at noon. We'll sort it, he promises. Sleep remains a rumor, but caffeine is loyal. I show up the next day in my sharpest Navy suit, the one reserved for board meetings and weddings of relatives who think tech is a brand of cereal. HR tries to steer me to a side room. I politely decline and head straight for John's glass-walled corner office. Emily is already there, arms folded, smartphone held like a dagger. John stands between us like a referee who'd rather be anywhere else. I lay the contract on the conference table, open to March 1st, 42. Emily smirks. Old doc, she says. We issued new contracts Q4. I slide her signed copy, her signature unmistakable, big looping E and M, onto the table beside mine. Her smirk evaporates. John looks at her, eyebrows knitting into thunderclouds. Emily, did you read any of the legacy agreements before making staffing decisions? He asks. His calm is scarier than yelling. She fumbles for an excuse about streamlining, modernizing, synergy, buzzwords that once dazzled professors now clang against glass. John lifts a hand. Stop. We honor our commitments in this family. Finance will process Mike's compensation immediately. And you, he turns to me, will have my personal thanks on top of it. I nod, throat thick. There's a moment where 20 different emotions try to exit my face at once. Forms fly. HR moves faster than I've ever seen them. As I sign the last page, I notice Emily's eyes are glassy, but pride keeps her chin high. She manages a clipped apology. I accept it because I'm too tired for grudges and because winning loudly is bad form. Money will never buy back 5 years of early mornings, but it will fund whatever comes next, and that feels like justice. Cue epilogue part 1. The emotional hangover. You'd think a surprise jackpot would taste like champagne. Instead, it tastes like uncertainty mixed with leftover tie. I spend 3 days oscillating between spreadsheets. Projected budget 2025 to 2028 has 15 tabs now, and existential dread. Was my entire identity just someone else's calendar curator? Do I exist without color-coded workflows? One day for my college buddy Sam pings me. Sam's the kind of guy who prototypes apps in coffee shop bathrooms just to prove he can. His message says, got a pre-seed lead for our idea. Need co-founder with ops superpowers. You free? He means the AI-powered accessibility tool we riffed on over burritos last year. I stall, run a hot bath, stare at the ceiling, ask the rubber duck for advice. The duck is pro-risk. I say yes. Friday, 9:07 a.m., my bank app pings. Wire received. The number looks like it belongs to a small nation's GDP, at least the way my paycheck-trained eyes see it. I take a screenshot, crop it to hide decimals, and send it to my mom with nothing but the emoji of a rocket. She responds with 3 prayer hands and a gif of Oprah screaming, "You get a car." Monday, final chore, collect my box belongings from Millerware. The lobby has new art, minimalist canvases that probably cost half my severance. Emily's door sports a fresh brass plaque. Consult senior advisors before policy changes. Rumor is the board mandated it. I nod to Gary, who now looks relieved I'm not mad at him. My box contains the essentials: desk cactus, miraculously alive, backup hoodie, the ceramic T-Rex mug John gave me after our first Series A, and a stack of lanyard from conferences I no longer need to attend. Outside, the sun is making rude gestures at my retinas, but it feels good. I walk 8 blocks to Sam's co-working loft. The building used to be a furniture factory. Now it's all reclaimed with desks, neon signs, and the smell of roasted single-origin coffee beans that came with their own Spotify playlist. We claim 2 side-by-side hot desks, slap sticky notes onto a brick wall, and draft our master plan. My assistant instincts kick in. Timelines, KPIs, burn-down charts appear like magic. Sam builds prototypes like lightning. We feed off each other's momentum. That night, I treat myself to the good ramen. Over pork broth, I open LinkedIn, hover over the Open to Work banner, then close the app. I'm not looking, I'm building. Feels revolutionary. Weeks blur. We refine the AI model, pitch accelerators, land a small grant. I hire a contract lawyer. Lesson learned: to draft founder agreements with clauses that would make John proud. My dining table becomes HQ. The cactus graduates to the windowsill. One evening, while chasing a bug, I realize it's been hours since I thought about Emily's words. Those 4 syllables that once felt lethal. Fire has turned to fuel. Launch day, 3 months later, is a mosaic of nerves and code. We livestream the product reveal from a rented studio with faulty air conditioning. Viewers peak at only a few thousand, but one is John Miller. He texts, "Proud of you. Sailing trip delayed to watch." At T-0, we push the big deploy button. Servers hold. Users on board. Accessibility advocates tweet praise. I almost cry on camera, blame the studio lights. Afterward, Sam and I drink cheap supermarket champagne on the fire escape, the city hum below like a backup generator for dreams. Flashback again, because context flavors everything. My path to personal assistanthood wasn't straight. I did 2 years in the Navy as a logistics specialist, learned to inventory a destroyer's worth of canned peas while the deck pitched like a seesaw. After discharge, I bartended at a jazz club where the sax solos lasted longer than some marriages. Between sets, I practiced shorthand on napkins. Organization, I discovered, is just choreography that no one claps for. By the time I drifted toward tech, I could juggle 8 cocktail shakers without spilling a drop, metaphorically and literally. That muscle memory of controlled chaos turned out to be exactly what startups crave. At Millerware, my organizational quirks became office lore. I kept a drawer labeled Emergency Positivity, stocked with chocolate bars and handwritten compliments for engineers pulling all-nighters. I ran a Friday ritual called Demo and Donut, where demos were optional, but donuts were not. The interns nicknamed me MapQuest because I could tell you how to get from the parking garage to any meeting room faster than GPS. This before the office got too big for naming every corridor. Someone once asked why I printed agendas on blue paper. I told them blue strips cortisol. May or may not be true, but people smiled more when the agendas hit their desks. People like Emily, I learned early, sometimes misread kindness for obsolescence. She arrived with a war chest of buzzwords: hypergrowth, blitz scaling, disruption of disruption, and zero patience for operations that weren't automated in the last 5 minutes. I'm not anti-automation, I'm pro-attention, and those aren't the same. Attention is knowing that Carl in QA hates cilantro, so you order separate salsa. It's noticing that the fridge light bulb flickers and replacing it before the communal yogurt remembers its dairy. Robots can't replicate that, yet. Back to Clause March 1st, 42, because legal poetry deserves an encore. When John introduced it during last year's renewal, he said, "Mike, everyone deserves a parachute, especially the guy folding mine." I chuckled, signed, tossed the doc in the banker's box, never thinking the ripcord would be yanked. Shows what I know about foreshadowing. John had a whole philosophy: pay fairly, pay promptly, pay for peace of mind. Emily, to her credit, was raised by the same man, but sometimes generational sync gets lost in translation between sailboats and swipe culture. The day HR wired the money, I scheduled an appointment with a financial advisor who looks like a friendly owl. He applauded my impulse to pay down debt, politely questioned my impulse to buy a vintage pinball machine, and introduced me to the concept of FU assets, low-risk investments whose only job is to let you walk away from toxic situations. I told him I'd already owned enough toxicity for a lifetime. He laughed and suggested municipal bonds. While I waited for paperwork, I binge-watched documentaries on founders who struck gold, then lost it faster than you could say burn rate. I scribbled a warning on a sticky note. Cash decreases anxiety, but increases temptation. I stuck it on my bathroom mirror, right above the floss. Meanwhile, Sam and I held ideation sprints at ungodly hours. He's the front-end wizard. I'm ops and customer empathy. We argued about logo color for 3 hours until realizing our beta users wouldn't care if the icon was beige as long as the product converted spoken words to accessible captions without lag. High-stakes adventure, glamorous tweets, and still 90% of our time vanished into bug tickets labeled edge case. I kept in touch with John. He sent postcards from various harbors: Monterey, Santa Barbara, a surprise detour to Cabo, each with doodles of sailboats and motivational one-liners like steady winds, steady hearts. One postcard, though, arrived heavy. He'd scribbled, "Don't measure your value by who signs your checks," next to a sketch of a compass. I taped it above my desk. Some nights, when a regression test failed at 3 a.m., I'd reread the line until the urge to Hulk smash my laptop subsided. About 2 months post-firing, Emily reached out. A terse email subject line, advice. Body text asked if we could grab coffee. She'd realized leadership wasn't as simple as PowerPoint. I debated ignoring it, but growth looks better on everyone, so we met. Neutral Cafe, midday, laptops closed. She admitted she'd panicked under board pressure to make bold moves. I admitted I'd typed but unsent an email calling her tyrant and Prada. We laughed, awkward but real. She offered a consulting gig to rebuild Millerware's culture. I turned her down politely, because some doors close so better ones can open, and because forgiveness doesn't always require reruns. Fast forward to week 11 of startup life. Our app lands on Product Hunt and climbs into the top 5 by noon. Twitter, sorry X, floods us with kudos from educators, journalists, a retired astronaut. I screenshot every nice comment, because future bad days will come, and hope is a form of infrastructure. VC emails trickle, then pour. I remember Clause March 1st, 42 again, whisper thanks to John for the runway that lets us choose investors instead of beg. I also remember Emily's cautionary arc. We draft a culture manifesto, no firing by ambush, no buzzwords without definitions. Every contract human readable. It's aspirational, sure, but so are most blueprints before they become buildings. One evening, I hold a tiny celebration, solo dance party in my living room. Same place the story started. I cue the song Dog Days Are Over, jump around until the downstairs neighbor yells through the vent, then collapse on the sofa laughing, sweaty, and profoundly alive. The coffee maker's red light blinks again, but now it feels less like a warning and more like applause timed to my heartbeat. And because every good narrative benefits from symmetry, here's a final callback. That drawer labeled Emergency Positivity, I recreated it virtually in our company Slack. Hashtag Emergency Positivity now hosts GIFs, gratitude shoutouts, and once a week, I post a digital donut nobody can eat, but everybody seems to enjoy. Turns out, even in a remote-first startup, people crave rituals of care. So, yes, I was fired by someone who called me obsolete. But here's the post-credits twist. Obsolescence is just innovation someone hasn't bothered to see yet. And sometimes the best severance is the freedom to write new job titles. In my case, Chief Executive Orchestrator of Chaos and Kindness. It's a mouthful. It's also the truest thing on my business card. If the universe hands you a Clause March 1st, 42 moment, my unsolicited advice is to keep your cool, keep your paperwork, and remember that every closed door is an invitation to build your own damn hallway. Bonus points if it includes a pinball machine. Coda, because life refuses to fit tidy run times. A month after our launch, I bump into Gary the security guard at a downtown food truck rodeo. He's with his kid, wearing a Millerware baseball cap I helped design for last year's retreat. We grab tacos, reminisce, and I thank him for walking me out with gentleness on that awful day. He laughs it off, but I can tell the acknowledgement matters. As we part, he says, "Hey Mike, good for you for landing on your feet." I correct him, smiling, "I didn't land, Gary. I learned to fly." And that, friends, is the story told true. Before I step off this makeshift stage, I want to say thank you. Thank you for lending me your ears, or eyes, if you're reading this transcript. Thank you for riding the emotional roller coaster with me, from the shock of that glass door firing to the quiet triumph of our startup's launch. Every high, every low, every jittery, caffeine-fueled midnight. I shared it all here because I believe vulnerability is the currency of connection. To John Miller, thank you for the trust, the mentorship, and yes, the parachute clause that became my lifeline. To Emily Miller, Thank you for teaching me that even well-meaning ambition can misfire, and for reminding me how important empathy is in leadership. To Gary, Sam, and every colleague, past, present, and future, who cheered me on, passed me protein bars, held open doors, or simply listened when I needed to vent. Thank you for being the human infrastructure beneath my wings. To my family and friends who worried when I paced the floors at 3 a.m., triple-checking that contract clause, your faith was my ballast. To the coffee maker whose little red light blinked a warning that turned into a wink, thank you for your unflappable consistency. To the rubber duck in my bathtub, thank you for being the world's calmest sounding board. And to you, yes, you, right there, thank you for being part of this conversation. Stories are living things. They grow richer when they're shared, challenged, and echoed. So now I turn it over to you. What resonated with you in my journey? Have you ever had your own Clause March 1st, 42 moment? A hidden safety net that saved you when you least expected it? Or maybe you've been on the other side, making tough calls like Emily, learning what leadership really means the hard way. Drop your thoughts, your questions, or your own tales of unexpected twists in the comments. Let's build a thread of real-world wisdom, a tapestry woven from layoffs and liftoffs, contracts and comebacks. If something in my story made you smile, cringe, or shout, "He did what?" I want to hear about it. Because at the end of the day, we're all authors of our next chapters. And every comment you leave adds a footnote to this shared human experiment. So go ahead, share, debate, commiserate, celebrate. Let's keep this story alive by making it ours together. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reading. And thank you for reminding me that no matter how polished the slides or airtight the contracts, it's our collective experiences that turn events into meaning. Over to you.